When my daughter-in-law said, "You don't do anything anymore, so you can look after the kids," something inside me broke. She had no idea. That would be the last time she ever spoke to me that way. My name is Clara Bennett. I'm 68 years old from Manchester, England, a retired school teacher, a widow, and a grandmother who thought she had seen it all, but nothing. Not even 40 years of teaching life lessons to children prepared me for the lesson I was about to teach my own family. It began on a quiet Thursday afternoon, my second day of retirement. The kettle had just whistled, and my living room table was covered with travel brochures. Scotland, Ireland, even the Lake District. Places I had dreamed of visiting for years. For the first time since I was 22, life was supposed to be mine. Then the phone rang. Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, she never called to chat, only to demand. "Clara," she began, her voice sharp, "I've got an amazing business trip opportunity in Spain, a 2-week leadership retreat. The kids can't miss school, so I'll drop them off with you. It's perfect. You're retired now. You've got nothing better to do." My hand froze mid-air, tea spilling over the tablecloth. Nothing better to do? This was the woman who spent her husband's salary on handbags, who called my son boring because he worked double shifts to feed his family. And now she was telling me my life had no purpose. "I have plans, Vanessa," I whispered. She laughed. "Plans? You're a pensioner, not a celebrity. 7 sharp tomorrow. Don't give them sugar and keep the house tidy. You know how Ethan's allergies are." She hung up before I could speak. I stared at the silent phone, my reflection in the black screen trembling with anger. And something else. Resolve. Because in that moment, I realized something profound. I may have retired from teaching children, but life was giving me one more student. Her name was Vanessa. And tomorrow morning, class would begin. Little did Vanessa know, her 2-week trip would end with lessons she'd never forget. And I was about to prove that a grandmother's love can be far more powerful than revenge. At 7 a.m. sharp, the doorbell rang. Not a minute early, not a minute late. That was Vanessa's style. Precise, polished, pretending to be perfect. When I opened the door, 3 faces stared back at me. Ethan, 12, holding a phone as if it were part of his hand. Sophie, 10, with crossed arms and a frown that didn't belong on a child. And little Liam, 7, clutching a tablet like a teddy bear. Vanessa stood behind them in her designer coat, her perfume filling the doorway. "I don't have much time," she said briskly. "Ethan's gluten-free, Sophie won't eat anything green, and Liam can't sleep without his iPad. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Try not to feed them junk, Clara. I'd hate to undo my hard work." "Hard work?" I repeated, smiling faintly. "Raising them or escaping them?" She froze, just for a moment, before forcing a smile. "Oh, don't be dramatic. You'll thank me later. This will be good for you. Keeps you busy. The woman had just turned me into a babysitter. I watched as her car pulled away, leaving a trail of arrogance and perfume behind. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Ethan immediately demanded, "What's your Wi-Fi password?" "It's broken," I lied. "What?" His eyes widened as if I'd announced the apocalypse. Sophie rolled hers. "Mum said you're terrible at cooking. Can we order food instead?" And Liam tugged my sleeve. "Grandma, can I watch YouTube, please?" For a second, I felt my heart ache. They didn't see me as family, they saw me as an inconvenience. I took a deep breath and said gently, "Your mum asked me to take care of you, not entertain you. You'll eat what I cook, play outside, and talk to each other. That's the plan." Ethan groaned. "This is going to be the worst 2 weeks ever." I smiled. "We'll see." That night, as the house fell silent, I couldn't sleep. The words Vanessa had thrown at me, "You don't do anything anymore," echoed in my mind. But when I heard soft sobs from Sophie's room, I realized something deeper. The children weren't rude, they were hurting. I peeked in. She was clutching a photo of me holding her as a baby. "Do you miss your mum?" I asked softly. Sophie hesitated, then whispered, "Mum's always busy. I don't think she misses anyone." My heart broke. I knew then this wasn't just about revenge, it was about saving them. But what I didn't know was that the very next morning, a secret hidden in Ethan's phone would change everything and expose the darkness behind Vanessa's perfect smile. The next morning, the air felt different, heavy, almost warning me. I woke before dawn, brewed my tea, and looked out the window as the sun crept through the grey Manchester sky. Somewhere in Spain, Vanessa was probably sipping champagne, confident her plan had worked, but she didn't know me. Not really. At breakfast, I tried to bring warmth into the kitchen. Pancakes shaped like animals, hot chocolate, even strawberries cut into hearts. When the children came down, the smell caught their attention. Ethan frowned. "You made these?" "Yes," I smiled. "Go on, try one." He hesitated, then took a bite. For a moment, his expression softened at just a flicker of happiness before he covered it up. "They're okay, I guess." Sophie whispered, "They're actually really nice." Liam giggled, chocolate smeared on his cheek. "Can we have more, Grandma?" That tiny word, Grandma, sounded like music, but peace never lasts long in a house built on secrets. After breakfast, while the children played in the garden, Ethan's phone buzzed on the table, and I wouldn't have looked, but the screen lit up with a name that froze me: Dominic. Vanessa had mentioned a business partner called Dominic months ago, too often, too fondly. My pulse quickened. I opened the chat. "Dominic, miss you already. Hope the old woman doesn't make you crazy, Vanessa. Don't worry. In 2 weeks, everything will be ours." He still has no idea I covered my mouth, trembling. "Everything will be ours?" My son, Daniel, had no idea what his wife was planning. Scrolling further, I saw more. Photos of Vanessa in Spain, not in a conference hall but on a beach wrapped around a man's arm. The kettle whistled suddenly, making me jump. I dropped the phone and Ethan appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing with my phone?" he snapped. "I was just moving it off the table," I lied, but my voice wavered. He could sense it. For a moment, we just stared at each other. The stubborn boy and the grandmother who saw too much. Then he said quietly, "Mum said you were nosy. That's why nobody likes you." I felt my heart crack, not from his words, but from the pain I heard behind them. Vanessa had poisoned him, too. I turned away, hiding my tears. But one thing was certain. If Vanessa was building a web of lies, I was about to tear it apart, strand by strand. That night, I made a single phone call to an old friend who owed me a favor. Because by morning, I'd have proof that would shake our entire family to its core. I didn't sleep that night. The clock ticked past midnight, each second echoing louder than the last. My mind raced between anger, fear, and heartbreak. What Vanessa was doing wasn't just betrayal, it was destruction. At 6 a.m., I called Martha, an old colleague and my dearest friend. "Martha, it's Clara. Remember those tiny recording devices you used in your legal case years ago?" Her tone sharpened instantly. "Clara, what's going on?" "I just need to protect my family," I whispered. By afternoon, Martha arrived with a small brown box. It's recorders no bigger than buttons, a mini camera disguised as a smoke detector, and something far more valuable: the contact of her cousin working in family welfare services. Clara, she said, holding my hands, if Vanessa's doing what you think, you'll need solid proof. I'll get it, I promised. This time, I'm not backing down. That evening, I set the devices quietly. One beneath the dining table, one near the living room, and the camera overlooking the hallway. My hands trembled not from fear, but from determination. For years, I'd been silent, enduring Vanessa's manipulation. No more. At dinner, the children sat quietly. Grandma, Sophie said softly, can we help with the table? Her voice was gentle, hesitant, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be kind. Of course, darling, I smiled. Kindness doesn't need permission. Ethan watched me for a long time, suspicion still shadowing his eyes. You hate Mom, don't you? I froze. No, Ethan. I don't hate her. I pity her. Why? He asked, frowning. Because some people love control more than they love their own family. For a brief moment, the boy I'd known years ago surfaced, curious, vulnerable. He didn't answer, but he didn't argue either. After dinner, while they cleaned up, I checked the recorder under the table. It worked perfectly. Every word, every tone. I knew what I needed. Evidence of neglect, manipulation, maybe even confession. Later that night, as I walked past Sophie's room, I heard her humming softly. A lullaby I used to sing to Daniel when he was her age. It felt like a small miracle, a forgotten thread of love reweaving itself. But miracles come hand in hand with storms. Because at that exact moment, Ethan's phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't from Dominic, it was from Vanessa. Delete everything. If anyone finds out, it's over. Do you understand me? My blood ran cold. She knew something, and in that instant, I realized Vanessa's game had only just begun, and she was willing to destroy anyone who stood in her way, even her own children. The next morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Even the birds outside seemed to sense the storm that was coming. I stood by the window, tea in hand, watching the grey Manchester sky twist with clouds. My heart ached with both dread and purpose. By then, I had gathered enough proof, the recordings, the screenshots, the messages from Vanessa's secret account. I sent them to Daniel, my son, with a single message. Come home tonight. It's time you see the truth. When he arrived to right, exhaustion and confusion painted his face. He looked older, worn down by years of trying to please the wrong woman. Mum, he sighed. Vanessa told me you've been interfering again. Please. Daniel, I interrupted gently, sliding the folder toward him. Just look. He flipped through the pages, first slowly, then faster. The photos of Vanessa with Dominic, the chat logs, the credit statements, her plans to take the children abroad. His hands began to shake. This can't be real. It is, I said softly, and you've been living with her lies for far too long. Before he could speak, the doorbell rang. It was Vanessa. She breezed in, smiling, suitcase in hand, pretending nothing had happened. Hello, everyone, she said brightly. Did you miss me? Daniel's voice cracked. Enough pretending, Vanessa? Her eyes narrowed. What's this supposed to be? The truth, I said, standing tall. Every lie, every betrayal, recorded. She laughed, a cold, sharp sound that could cut glass. Oh, Clara, she sneered. You think anyone will believe you? You're just a lonely old woman, desperate for attention. But Daniel spoke before I could. No, Vanessa. I believe her, and so will the court. Her smile faltered. You wouldn't dare. Try me, he said, voice trembling with fury. The children had gathered at the top of the stairs. Sophie clutched Liam's hand. Ethan stood frozen, tears pooling in his eyes. Mum, Sophie whispered. Why did you lie to us? For a moment, Vanessa looked human. Um, scared, small, but instead of apologizing, she turned her rage on me. This is your fault, Clara. You ruined everything. No, I said quietly. You did that yourself. I only reminded you that truth always finds its way out. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The house fell silent again, but this time it was the silence of peace, not fear. Daniel sank into a chair, weeping. I placed my hand over his. It's over, my boy. I whispered, you're free. But as I looked at the children, wounded, confused, clinging to their father, I knew the battle wasn't truly over. Because healing a broken family isn't about ending a war, it's about learning to live again after the smoke clears.